In the shadow of mountains where clouds cling to stone like ancient spirits refusing to leave this world, lies a buried kingdom the world forgot, a realm older than the dreams of empires, older than the stories etched into the ruins of Rome and Persia, a land that breathed history long before the world called another place Albania. This was the first Albania, Caucasian Albania, a kingdom carved by warriors and monks, by kings and martyrs, by blood, faith, and the ruthless march of time. Today, it hides beneath the soil of the Caucasus, its name swallowed by centuries, its memory stolen by conquerors, rewritten by rivals, and buried beneath new nations. But history remembers, stones remember, and tonight we listen to the echo of a forgotten world, the Caucasus, where Europe meets Asia and mountains rise like jagged blades. For thousands of years, this land has been the crossroads of civilizations, a place where cultures collided, faiths clashed, and empires rose and died like sparks in the dark. Nestled between mighty neighbors, Persia to the south, Rome and Byzantium to the west, the savage nomads of the steppes to the north, stood a kingdom that refused to vanish. Its people called themselves Albani. Their kings stood proud in palaces built from stone and gold. Their warriors defended mountain passes that swallowed entire armies. Their priests wrote scriptures in a language the world lost for more than 1,000 years. And their legends whispered of gods older than Rome, heroes mightier than Greece, and saints holier than any crown could bear. But when you search today, you will not find this Albania on modern maps. Instead, you find silence. You find forgotten ruins. You find whispers of a people erased. For centuries, historians argued, was Caucasian Albania real? Was it myth, a confused memory? Or did someone deliberately hide it? Let us begin where all kingdoms begin, with the earth, with the breath of the mountains, with the ancient tribes who settled this land thousands of years before Alexander marched east. Archaeologists call them the Caspians, the Udi, the Gargas, the legions, warrior peoples who lived by the sword, loyal to clan and god. Their homeland stretched from the shores of the Caspian Sea to the snowy passes of the Caucasus Ridge, where wolves howled beneath the moon and rivers carved valleys like veins across the earth. They were fierce, independent, born of stone, storm, and sacred fire. In this land, power did not come from gold or bloodlines. It came from survival. It came from strength. The first kings of Albania ruled not from marble courts, but from fortresses carved into mountainsides. Their power came not from conquest, but from unity, binding tribes into one people. And when the Persian Empire rose like a tidal wave, swallowing kingdoms across the east, the Albanians did not bow. They formed alliances. They fought when needed, and when it was wise, they negotiated peace. Their strength was not merely in arms, but in strategy. They stood as guardians of the Caucasus, protectors of passes that empires feared to cross. But history tells us every kingdom meets a turning point. For Caucasian Albania, it began with Rome. As Roman legions marched east, emperors saw the Caucasus not as a frontier, but as a shield, a wall against the nomadic tribes beyond. They sought alliances, demanded tribute, and poured wealth into the region. In return, Albania became a battleground, caught between the ambitions of Rome and the fury of Persia. Kings of Albania played a dangerous game, balancing power between two giants, maintaining sovereignty through diplomacy and the sword. And then, something happened that neither Rome nor Persia could foresee. Faith came. Before Christianity reached the shores of Europe's far north, before cathedrals rose across the continent, the mountains of Caucasian Albania heard the gospel. According to tradition, one of Christ's apostles, Saint Bartholomew, brought the faith here. In these mountains, he preached. In these valleys, he converted. And here, the story says, he died a martyr's death, his blood soaking into the soil of a land not yet known to history. Whether myth or truth, one thing is certain. Albania embraced Christianity centuries before many other nations. Churches rose in stone. Monasteries flourished, and scribes created something extraordinary, an alphabet, their own script, their own written language. A treasure lost for over 1,000 years, only rediscovered in our time, hidden in forgotten manuscripts in a monastery in Sinai. Think about that. A nation erased and then resurrected by a few fragile pages. Imagine monks bent over parchment in the dim glow of oil lamps, scratching sacred words in a script no one alive today fully understands. Imagine the hymns they sang in stone churches echoing across mountains that swallowed their voices into mist. Those pages are whispers from a vanished world, reaching across time to remind us they existed. But faith is a sword as well as a flame. As Christianity spread, it changed the heart of Albania. Pagan temples fell silent, sacred groves were cut, gods older than memory faded, and while it brought unity to the kingdom, it also drew envy. Byzantium sought to claim Albania as its own Christian frontier. Armenia saw it as brother territory. Persia, clinging to its ancient fire, worship sought to extinguish the Christian flame. And in the 5th century, war struck like thunder. The Sassanid Persians invaded. They demanded conversion to Zoroastrianism. They demanded obedience. But the Albanians refused. One king rose above all, Vachsekan. He fought. He resisted. And when forced into conversion, he returned to faith the moment Persia's grip loosened. His life was tragedy and triumph woven together. A king torn between two worlds. A man who ruled a kingdom holding on to faith by the edge of a blade. Then came the Huns. Riders from the north, swift as wind, merciless as winter. They swept across the plains and valleys, and Albanian warriors met them with steel. King Vachigan the Pious restored churches, protected the weak, and brought law back to the land. Under him, Albania shone again, a Christian kingdom at the top of the world. But darkness was not finished. In the 7th century, a new power rose from the desert, unified, determined, carrying a message that would change the world. The armies of the early Islamic Caliphate marched across Persia and into the Caucasus. Albania resisted. Fortresses held, warriors fought with fury. But history changes with tides no man commands. The kingdom fell not in battle alone, but in time. Over generations, power shifted, borders redrew. Albania was no longer a kingdom, but a province, then a memory. Some people converted, others fled to the mountains. The Yudi and a few others remained keepers of the ancient flame, guardians of the last breath of the old Albania. Centuries rolled on, new nations rose. Armenia, Georgia, Persia, later Russia, and the name Albania faded like ink beneath centuries of rain. But silence is never the end. Ruins remained, churches hidden in forests, stones carved with ancient crosses, sacred texts in a forgotten alphabet that waited patiently to speak again. And then, in our time, scholars discovered them. Manuscripts in St. Catherine's Monastery in Sinai, stone inscriptions in villages in modern Azerbaijan, ruins that whispered, "We were here." Yet history is never simple. Today, Caucasian Albania lies in the middle of political disputes, cultural battles, and identity struggles. Who owns this past? Who claims this lost kingdom? Armenians say they protected its Christian legacy. Azerbaijan says its people descend from Albanians, not Armenians, and their churches are Albanian heritage, not Armenian. Historians debate, nations argue. Meanwhile, the ancient stones stand silent, watching humans fight over memories as old as Earth itself. But history is not ownership. History is truth. And the truth is this: Caucasian Albania was real, a kingdom once mighty, now forgotten, a culture unique, rich, and powerful, a people who fought empires, embraced faith, wrote books in a language that vanished, and prayed in churches now swallowed by earth. They were warriors and scholars, kings and martyrs. Their legacy lives in ruins, in mountains, in manuscripts, and in the blood of the people who still remember, even if they no longer know they remember. Imagine walking through a forest and stumbling on a church doorway carved in stone, half sunk into earth. Moss covers the walls. Silence hangs heavy. Inside, ancient frescoes fade on the walls. Faces of saints lost to time. Your footsteps echo. You feel watched by history. That is Caucasian Albania, a ghost kingdom, a forgotten light. Proof that even when empires erase names, the earth remembers. And so we stand here at the edge of forgotten memory, asking not only what happened to Caucasian Albania, but what it means to be forgotten. Will our nations too one day disappear into dust? Will future generations discover our writings like sacred relics of a vanished people? History is humbling. It teaches us that nothing lasts, not kings, not borders, not even names. But it also teaches us that memory can be reborn, lost kingdoms can speak again, and forgotten people can rise from silence, not as nations of land, but as nations of story, of spirit, of legacy. Tonight, you have heard the voice of a forgotten world. Carry it forward, because history belongs not to those who conquer, but to those who remember. But history does not sleep, and neither should knowledge. If you felt the weight of forgotten kings tonight, if this journey into a vanished world stirred even a spark of curiosity in you, then don't let it end here. Subscribe and step deeper into the shadows of the past with us. Every week, we uncover civilizations that time tried to bury and voices that empires tried to silence. Join the legion of seekers who refuse to let history fade. Like the video, share it with someone who loves lost worlds, and leave a comment. Tell us which forgotten kingdom you want us to resurrect next. Until the next chapter, traveler, remember the past is never dead. It only waits for those who dare to look back.